Hello everybody, JG Crafting here and welcome back to another video where today I am going to be doing a review of the Aincrad arc of Sword Art Online Season 1. Basically, this is supposed to be like a multiple part series where I judge each arc for each season. So basically we're going to start off with the Aincrad arc. I hope I don't mispronounce it too much. Then we're going to move on to the Fairy Dance arc next, and then maybe if I like how the series is going, I'll continue on with the later seasons. But today I'm going to be starting with the Aincrad arc, which is about the first 14, 15, 16, I don't actually know, around the point amount of episodes, the first storyline of Sword Art Online. And I'm just gonna probably just hop right into this. So let's start. Alright, I'm gonna begin with the story summary, which basically just is a quick rundown of everything with little to no spoilers, because this is meant to be a spoiler free. There is a spoiler section of this, which I will be diving into because there's different sections selected for each and every one of these. And we're on the story summary right now, so I'm just going to describe what the show is about. So, what this show is, like, what this arc of Sword Art Online Season 1 is about is there's a brand new game that came out called Sword Art Online, and everyone's logging into it, everyone's having fun, it's a blast, it's a brand new, really incredible game, when suddenly everyone learns that once they're in Sword Art Online, there's no logout button, you can't leave, you were basically trapped in the game until someone manages to beat all 100 floors of the Aincrad castle. And we get introduced to our main character, Kirito, who basically is the super cool protagonist that was also a beta tester for the original Sword Art Online thing, and has now been trapped in the game, saying he's going to be one of the strongest solo players in existence. That's basically kind of a short summary. And they're basically all just trapped in the game for the whole arc. So I'm going to start with what I liked about this whole arc. One of the things I really liked was definitely Kirito as a character. Now listen. I know a lot of people say Kirito is OP. He's overpowered, he's way too strong for your normal anime protagonist, and he seems to get all the girls, which I don't mind. I actually kind of like that about his character. It was one of the first animes I'd ever watched, but I'm only doing this review months after I'd already watched the first season. Currently, where I am, the final arc of Alicization War of the Underworld, that's the final season, the final arc of that hasn't come out yet. I've watched everything though, and still I think Kirito is a fantastic main character. He has to deal with the several different struggles, being just a beta tester who everyone finds as just bad because none of them are really helping. And just seeing him constantly struggle, especially with a bunch of different things that happen to him throughout the story, I really, really liked his character. And I also liked his connections to all the other characters. It's just kind of a really kind of fun adventure to see him as an OP protagonist, because even though he may be OP, he's still fun to watch. Another thing I really liked about this show was definitely its action. I loved the action in this show. It was so good. I really think a lot of it was so amazing to watch, and just seeing all these characters go into battle, just completely destroy just the entire whole game, and sometimes even losing, making it an extremely entertaining show, because I'll be honest, if a show doesn't have action in it, and it's meant to be an action show, it can get pretty boring. There are also instances of shows that shouldn't have action in them because it just makes it feel weird, but yeah, those are other shows. But the action in this show, I think, was really, good. I had a lot of fun watching it, and every single time I got super excited for when the action was on screen. And to say about things I disliked. I think one of the major things I disliked was some of the pacing. Like sometimes, one moment, there's this big storyline of Kirito doing something, and magically it's done within 2 episodes, even though apparently it was over months of stuff, and then suddenly he's magically somewhere else, and where looked like there was just going to be this big epic fight. We didn't even get to see the fight. It was just kind of really weird. So it has a few pacing issues from time to time, but for the most part, I generally thought that they were ignorable, because once they were over with, I ended up really liking where the pacing, like the first few episodes have really weird pacing, but after that, the series gets fully back on track with its storyline. Although there is one more thing I really disliked about the Aincrad arc that I'll talk about in my spoiler section of this review, which probably will be coming up soon, but let's move on to the spoiler-free thoughts. So, basically, if you've never watched Sword Art Online, I actually would really recommend it. It not only has a bunch of really creative ideas and a really unique amount of different concepts, I generally had a lot of fun with this anime. With the first arc, I was kind of surprised it ended so quickly, but honestly, it's so weird. And what I mean by ended so quickly, I mean like the whole fact that an arc is somehow wrapped up within that time frame, especially with the weird pacing before. Seeing all these concepts were just kind of a really fun ride, and I had a lot of fun definitely watching the entire thing. It was very interesting, and I would highly recommend it. So, yeah, that's basically all I could say without spoiling too much. Now let's move on to the spoiler section, which basically means, spoiler warning, if you don't want SAO ruined for you, make sure to click off this part of the video. I'm going to count down from 5 now. If you're still here after that, you get spoilers. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter spoiler section. So, my thoughts. Alright, let's see. Well, one thing I majorly disliked was probably the kind of over-the-top relationship between the Kirito and his girlfriend, who becomes his girlfriend in the series, Asuna. While I liked their relationship as characters, I really liked it, and when they were a couple in the movie Ordinal Scale and everything like that, I really liked that. Except the whole arc that took place during their whole, the whole thing where they got married and then they went to go live in their own little shack away from everything. I generally really did not care for that bit. While I admit that there's a lot of really good stuff afterwards, like once they go back to fighting and stuff like that, I really like that part. But for the time they were just in their cabin and just living the free life, my only thoughts were, hello, can we get back to the action now? I really love to get back to the action now, please. Come on. I'm waiting. Can I go now? Can we go back to action? That's literally all I was thinking. I could not stay interested in that part of the story. But in general, the whole thing with Kirito and Asuna was, I think, okay paced. Like, it didn't have entirely all a full-fledged batch of chemistry, but when it came down to it, I do think they worked well as a couple, and I really liked the whole way that they talked with each other and how it actually really connected well. And while I think that people like Lisbeth and a bunch of other people really could have been more used in this season, like part of this arc, they sadly do not get very used. And actually, speaking of it, Klein, The person Kirito met in episode 1 and made appearances throughout the arc, but never stayed. He was there like one every like 6 episodes. He was almost never there. It was so irritating. It was so upsetting because out of everyone, Klein was the most interesting character. Which Klein is the person that Kirito again meets in episode 1, and he stays behind when Kirito goes off on his own. And oh lord, Klein is such an interesting character, but they don't ever go and develop him in this arc. He never actually does anything, and it's sad because he's probably out of everyone the most interesting character. I really wish they went further with Klein, and if they ever decide to just make like an SAO side story about Klein, I'd happily watch it, because by far, even though I really like Kirito as a character, Klein's probably my favorite. He not only gives the funniest remarks, but he's always just the goofy guy that everyone wants to see more of, and I really wish I could have seen more from him. In all honesty, I really just wish that I could have seen more of his character. But hey, we still got Kirito. He's in every episode. And it's kind of funny how this arc was all wrapped up within a small time frame. Because the show is called Sword Art Online, and yet Sword Art Online as a show only exists through the Aincrad arc. After that, it's over. You don't go diving into SAO ever again. I mean, they'll make references and bits and pieces of it, but they don't actually put you back in SAO. So it generally doesn't really stick that well. Knowing that that's the story, that's it. Because after a couple of episodes, I thought, okay, this is a 24 episode show. We're going to be diving fully into SAO this entire time. And then after that just first arc, boom, we're done. We never see SAO again. We're done. We might see the Aincrad castle again, but we don't really go to SAO again. We're done. It was a little bit sad, but I was okay with it because I was watching for the characters and the story, not the world. While I love the world in general, I love watching the worlds, it doesn't have to be there in order for the story to be interesting. If you want an example of a series I've watched that has a like normal world setup that has an interesting story, take My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. It was a series that took place just in regular school, but it was still entertaining. And that's what I liked about Sword Art Online. Even though it wasn't in Sword Art Online for more than the Aincrad arc, it was still entertaining to watch, and I still had a lot of fun. Of course, I have different thoughts on each season, stuff like that, which is why it's a multiple part series. But for the Aincrad arc, I thought it was fun. And I don't care if some people saw it coming, but I never, ever considered that the leader of one of the guilds was the creator of the game and the final boss, which actually the movie kind of confused me on that, but I think I understood it later on. But in general, I really think that the whole story was entertaining, and I actually really like this arc. Now, I also didn't care for some of the characters, like take Asuna for example. Kirito's girlfriend in the story, and she's also kind of a powerful character. I do like her character at parts, but at other parts there's not as much interest. In truth, I just kind of know that the whole series as a whole was not really dedicated that much to her, it was more to Kirito, but when it came down to it, I never found her character as intriguing as Kirito or Klein. I think even Lisbeth had a better arc, even though she was only in 1 or 2 episodes. In general, I think that in that arc, I was fine with how things ended up. I was still sad when she died. When she died, and I thought, oh shoot! But I don't know. After Kirito got out of the game at the end of the arc, I just thought, holy crap, it's already over. Wow. And then I wondered how Asuna was doing, because even though she didn't really make an impact on me as much as Kirito did, she was still an important character to me, and I really wish that she got out of there too, which is where the Fairy Dance arc will come in handy. Now, I also know that a lot of people have complaints about the Fairy Dance arc and it being the bad arc of Season 1, and I'll be giving my own opinions on that because, you know, this is a multiple-part series, which means the Fairy Dance arc will definitely be coming next. Not tomorrow. I have plans to release my review on Gamers tomorrow. Oh crap, I already revealed what it was gonna be. Well, basically, I thought the Aincrad arc was pretty good. And I guess that's where we'll reach the conclusion now. So, in my full final opinion, I rate the Aincrad arc a 9 out of 10. There were boring parts, there were fantastic parts, and I definitely think the better outweighed the worse. And I generally had a lot of fun with this, and while I think the villain was kind of underused for multiple parts of the series, the final battles and stuff like that, and just all the different battles and the story arcs and the plotting definitely made up for it. And while I have a few complaints, I still found this series highly enjoyable and would definitely recommend it. And I don't care if people hate on me for this. I like Sword Art Online. I'm just gonna say it. I like it. If you say you only like it if you've never watched anime before, I went back and rewatched the series after I watched a bunch of different other animes and I still liked it. I don't care what you have to say. I just like it. But that's all my thoughts, because people have been hating on this series for so long. I was so intrigued why, and when I finally gave it a watch, I am very surprised how wrong these people were. But then again, there were also some things they were right about too, so yeah, but we'll discuss those in their own videos. But anyway, that was my thoughts and opinion basically on this anime review of the Aincrad arc. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I look forward to talking about more animes in the future, and hopefully you all had a fun time listening to this. And if you skip through the whole spoiler section, wow, you missed a lot of the video, because there's a lot of stuff I like to talk about that's definitely spoiler-ish. But anyway, thank you all for listening. Those are my final thoughts. 9 out of 10. Really like this anime. Highly recommend it. And don't worry, more anime reviews will be on their way. I know it's weird for a Minecraft channel to upload anime reviews, but I want to. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all around. Peace.